let's get started. First, let me introduce our first guest. You might know him from around the Java community. It's Sharat Chander from Oracle, who is shepherding our Java community, or has been shepherding our Java community for 25 plus years, I think now.
Pretty close.
Pretty close,
yeah. Coming up on a quarter century.
Yes.
Later this calendar year, yeah.
Perfect.
It's interesting to think that I've been working on this one community, this one technology for so long, but time flies, and here we are today trying to also celebrate 30 years of Java, which is great. So I'm so thankful that JetBrains and the IntelliJ team is starting off their 2025 conference by honoring this important milestone. It's humbling to know how long it's endured. It doesn't feel like 30 years whatsoever, but it's also important. As we celebrate the technology and the community behind it, we should also thank those whose shoulders we've stood on for so long. And I'd like to first begin by saying thank you to Simon Ritter. I hope he's watching right now. But if I know Simon, he's probably helping a large collection of developers somewhere online in the world, very selflessly. But Simon was my Sherpa, my mentor, for these past 25 years. And so much of the story about Java that we're going to tell today is a lens through his vision, his story, that I'm just trying to do my best to share with everyone. So Simon, if you're out there, thank you for giving me the inspiration to be here today. And this presentation is partly for you.
Perfect.
But, we had mentioned Java being around for 30 years. And it started a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. I mean, so many of us started Java, whether it's 1 year or 5 years or 10 years, at a point when it felt right for us. But for many of us, we started almost towards the beginning. Now, I haven't been around Java for 30 years, but for 27 years, it's pretty close to the start of the beginning. And
I was trying to do the math in my head just now. I learned Java 1.2 at university. What was the first Java version that you used?
Me personally, it was 1.1.
Oh, okay.
So that was an interesting journey. And my personal journey with Java started when I was in telco with Verizon. We were starting to see the shape of the world change to mobile, going from handsets to mobile. And Java helped solve that. And here we were at Verizon trying to learn about this 4-letter word called Java. And for many of us, this was the environment we lived in. Now, if anyone had a setup in their enterprise with old CRTs and mainframes and workstations, we can be friends, because this was the world we lived in. We lived in an environment where devices and equipment had CPU constraints, memory constraints, power constraints, and trying to create applications to give this hardware utility was very complex. And we had to use a collection of different programming languages in that era. I think sometimes we take it for granted just how productive and easy development is now for so many of us.
Yeah, with all of these great tools.
With its great tools and the ecosystem around Java and the language itself and the platform. But, all of these languages had utility in their own special way. But what made development so challenging is when you think of the sea of architectures and the sea of deployment models and equipment, there was just no way to really have one cohesive language that could target multiple devices very easily. And, they sometimes say that in technology, there's this moment of serendipity when a light bulb goes on and someone sees an opportunity. And that's what really happened at Sun. Now, for many individuals, people remember Sun as a high-end server company, high-end workstation company. But there were some pretty smart people there that also saw this serendipitous moment that we can do something better when it comes to a programming language, when it comes to a platform. And some people might recognize James Gosling and the other individuals that sort of started this, but they were actually equipped to go and focus on something that they found purpose in, that they felt could really revolutionize the world of software development. And yes, it did start behind a green door. That wasn't a mythical story.
Now you're giving spoilers for your presentation. Should we maybe get started with that? Or
Sure, why not?
Can we add your presentation to the stream then? Oh, it's already there, so.
We're good to go.
Okay, let's go.
And so, as we were saying, a lot of what happened in Java did happen behind closed doors in a hidden room in the Menlo Park campus, literally taking on the first instance of Java. The effort was defined as Project Green because, like we said, it happened behind a green door.
Right.
Very creative naming convention there. But this was the place where a lot of smart people gave attention to try and create something of greater utility. And that's where James Gosling and his team actually developed what we initially knew as Project Oak, or the Oak programming language, because literally there was an oak tree outside of his window. Again, a lot of people think this was a myth. This was actually a true story. But what was the early roots of Oak? It really meant to be focused as being a architecturally neutral language that was object-oriented, could have dynamic language and multi-threading. A lot of things that we kind of see in modern programming development as we in the world we live in today. And this was all the foundational structure of the concrete that was poured to make Java what it is.
And so what type of applications did Java first aim to address?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. And so in that era, we take it for granted again, like how easy technology is in the world we live in terms of how we are immersed in devices all around us. In that era, the notion of smart devices was just starting out. And so there was this concept of this device known as the Star 7, which was meant to be a multimedia box to control the multimedia world around you with a touchscreen interface, which in the 90s, a touchscreen interface with activations on a screen, with agents running across the screen to power and enable other devices was revolutionary. And so Java was really attempting to power these smart devices, the Star 7, to basically interact with the media world around us. And so CPU constrained, power constrained, memory constrained devices was initially targeted. And people can use the QR code on this slide to actually look at the initial demo of what the Star 7 looked like, to actually see the interactive agents on the screen that an end user could interact with. That was all programmed in Java. And that agent is actually someone we all know and love, which is Duke. So the interactive character on the Star 7 that an end user would interface with or interact with to give controls or commands to other devices was an agent. And so this agent, initially known as Fang, actually took on the name Duke. And we still try to figure out to this day, where did the Duke naming convention come from? And so, Duke is neutral. Duke is neither male nor female. Duke is Duke. Duke is the embodiment of the Java programming language from a community standpoint. And so, what we saw was an opportunity. And the great minds and great thought leaders at Sun said this device could be revolutionary in terms of how it can enable consumers to engage in the world around them from a media standpoint. And so the Green team incorporated themselves as first known as First Person Inc., another nugget of historical facts that I hope someone will remember in the annals of time when it comes to Java. But Sun tried to actually sell this in a contract with Time Warner to empower the Time Warner world of devices. And unfortunately, it didn't work out. And a lot of times your first failure is your first step towards success. And so you learn from your failures, because if you learn and move forward, it's actually an opportunity and a learned experience. And the world changed in that time. I mean, we take it for granted again, the interactive browser world we live in. In those days, browsers were very static. How do we bring a dynamic, interactive, immersive world to the browser? And so we saw things like the Mosaic browser and WebRunner coming forth in the mid-90s. And that was actually a perfect timing, because the hot Java browser was really a collaboration with Netscape to actually power the browser world we live in. And Java was perfectly situated to bring that immersive, rich experience to end users. And, the whole concept of write once, run anywhere was born from this, targeting the browser, targeting desktops, targeting other devices. And, in terms of naming convention, can you imagine some of these other name options for what we now know as Java, like Silk or DNA or even Ruby, which, Ruby, we now know Ruby because, Ruby was birthed that same year as Java in 1995 and late in December. And I can't imagine a world if you had Ruby for Java, but then what would Ruby be called? It's like creates a lot of conflict and, mental hurdles for us as developers. But, the name Java was settled on, and this 4-letter word is really something that took off at Java 1. For me, Java 1 was what gave me a connection to the technology. My peers from Verizon, we attended the very first Java 1, trying to learn about what is this 4-lettered language, what does it do, how can it empower telcos like us or other industries around the world. But what was so interesting about Java 1 was it wasn't just a conference for learning how to better utilize the technology, or how to become more efficient in being a programmer writing Java code. It was also the beginnings of community. I think sometimes we, again, take it for granted. So many technologies around the world have embraced the power of what community can do to move technology forward. And there were some really smart people at Sun on the Java team that realized that as much as great talent that we have in-house, getting the input and feedback of the end users can actually make the language and the platform move forward faster and be more enriched to meet the needs of use cases and best practices in terms of programming. And so we look at what those early initial devices where Java was running on. Again, Java was very well in terms of targeting devices with limited CPU, limited memory, limited power. We saw things like the early generations of Kindles was running Java. Blu-ray players around the world, powered by Java. The first generation of feature phones, and a lot of people who are probably watching are like, well, I have a smartphone in my pocket. Like, well, our generation, we didn't have smartphones. We had feature phones, which was very limited in what they were capable of doing. But the first step moving towards a smartphone environment, or even the Palm Pilot, like your daily interactive, planner to get by, which is all now done on your smartphone. Or even more importantly, we're all probably carrying a smart credit card in our wallet, or multiple cards, or smart watches, or smart devices. It's probably running Java card technology inherently on the card. So it's amazing in terms of the breadth of use cases that Java has had since its early inceptions. Now it's very well known in terms of powering enterprise applications in the back end, desktop applications, and it's just because of the thought that went in to develop the language that could evolve over time. But I kind of look at, there's a fun aspect to this as well. I mean, early versions of Java all had a code name, and, a lot of other programming languages have sort of embraced that code name paradigm. And I just was kind of interested to see if people kind of remember the naming conventions that we had for code names around some of our releases. We have a few here. 1.2 was known as Playground, 1.3 is Kestrel, 1.4 is Merlin. But does anyone who's watching the live stream know what Java 5 was codename?
And we should say, I don't know if anybody noticed, but we have these little dukes. The first one to get what was the next version? 5? The first person in the chat to know the name for 5, MK10 is already saying Tiger.
Oh, I didn't even have to give a hint.
Exactly.
Tiger is right. But
so tiger is the correct answer.
So we're going to follow up with that respondent.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
So I think the idea was, so MK10, who was the first person to say tiger in the chat, congratulations. If you contact Sharat on social media, send him a DM with your information. He will send you one of these dukes.
Yes, preferably over Blue Sky, but if you're not on Blue Sky, you can find me in places like LinkedIn or Mastodon. It would be great if they can connect with me, drop me a DM, and we'll put a duke in the mail for you. But
perfect.
We have another duke to give away.
Do you want to, who's the first person to know what the name was for
Java 6?
6 and 7, although I do think I saw someone knew where we were going with this. And
do I have to give a hint?
Playing already said Mustang, and Daniel with some name I won't try to pronounce also said 6 Mustang, but I think Playing was the first person. So congrats to Playing.
There we go.
Contact Char to win your Duke. And then
Java 7.
Yes, so Barath said 7 Dolphin.
Dolphin.
So people actually know these code names.
Like, see, I thought I was going to have to give clues like,
types of animals,
a ferocious feline, or wild horse, or an amphibious mammal, but people know their Java history.
People know their Java history. Perfect.
You can't move forward unless you understand the past. So this is great. So for all of the 3 people that got the names right, please find me on LinkedIn or Blue Sky, and I'll make sure to drop a duke in the mail for you. But going into history, one of the most profound things that really changed the direction for Java was written on open standards. But 2006 was a monumental year when we created the OpenJDK project in the community, because that was the first step towards open sourcing Java entirely. And a lot of great thought leaders eventually at Oracle on the Java team completed that mission not too far back. But the fact that we can now have something that was built on open standards, but also pursuing an open source dream came to fruition. But it started all in 2006. And why is OpenJDK so important? OpenJDK is the place where the collaboration happens, where Java is developed. Now, we have a lot of great engineers on the Java team, a lot of great talent with great ideas in terms of how to shape and frame the language and the platform for the future, but it also became the place that galvanized the community to contribute, and that's where the community plays such an important role. Participation can happen in many forms, many dimensions, but definitely one of the important starting places is in OpenJDK. So I encourage anyone who's watching, please go to openjdk.org, sign up for the mailing lists. More importantly, look at the projects that interest you. Maybe you'll have the courage to participate and give us your feedback, or join some of these projects to actually give input in terms of taking the Java language into a new direction. But like everything, Java has evolved. The logo has evolved. Duke has evolved. There's been so much enrichment in terms of that evolution. And I think when you go mainstream in terms of media, you are popular. To see Java in the New York Times crossword, or seeing Java referenced on sitcoms like Big Bang Theory or Silicon Valley, I think some people might watch those shows. Maybe?
I've seen some of Big Bang Theory.
Yeah,
yes.
Right. It's a little cheeky, but to see Java referenced so publicly it's humbling. But for me, the first time I saw Java reference was on the quiz show Jeopardy, and to see an actual question come up where I'm like, I already know the answer before the contestants, and these are world-class talent, people that know their trivia, didn't know the answer was Java. It's inspiring to see how much publicity Java has gotten through the mainstream media. But we can't just rest on our laurels. We've seen Java progress and evolve, and it continues to be a very popular programming language in the world. Whether you're 1 or 2 or 3, it still remains sort of in the top tier because it provides developers a language that can, again, be architecturally neutral, offer object-oriented programming, it's dynamic in nature, and more importantly, it provides performance, stability, and security in the development process. And that's so mission critically important for so many enterprises around the world, is of having applications that can run at scale and be performant at the same time, but also make developers, giving them inspiration to try something new. So it's really important upon us as the stewards and leaders of Java to take into account how the world is evolving. And I mean, the reality is the pace of innovation around us is happening at lightning speed. We're not talking about 3, 5, 10 years of innovation. Things are happening in months, if not weeks. And we need to ensure that Java can take into account that rapid pace of development. And so, we call this sort of the tip and tail model, where we want to make sure we're innovating for the future and we're offering developers access to that innovation faster than ever. But we also want to make sure that enterprises that have been using Java in production can maintain that stability with their applications, because a lot of times, in many companies, if it's not broken, don't fix it. You don't want to touch things that are working in production. And so we have to take account of changing chip architectures, changing CPU designs, making sure we're fundamentally looking at what are the inherent problems across a wide range of use cases and scenarios. We don't want Java to be just good in one thing. We want it to be able to address the challenges of software application development horizontally, across multiple use cases in multiple industries. And so where can we find the synergies across those use cases that we can then build in so it offers greater value to the largest set of developers that are out there?
Yeah, so you're describing what makes Java, or what keeps Java vibrant.
What keeps it vibrant.
All of those things.
Yes, and it oftentimes puts a target on our back, because even today, a lot of times we'll get comments, we're not moving fast enough, or we're moving too slow. But to be honest, that's
No one is saying you're moving too fast.
Oh, you'll be surprised at how many comments we get. It's great to push the envelope, as they say, but you want to do it thoughtfully, because when you bring a feature into the language, into the platform, it's going to be around for a very long time. So you want to be as stable as possible. And so you want to make sure that all the questions have been asked, that it's met sort of the quality criteria and the tests and the use cases, such that once it is in production, it has a long shelf life for developers. And, if we look at just a snapshot of where Java is these last 5 years, this is not the Java of the past. I mean, this is not your grandparents' Java, as we sometimes say. There's been a lot of innovation, and this just gives you a snapshot as far as where Java has evolved so rapidly, so quickly in such a short amount of time. And so, what do these features really mean? First and foremost, we're trying to make sure the platform itself provides better efficiency. I mean, the JVM is the machinery that runs Java code. It also runs code from other languages as well, but we want the JVM to be better and faster and robust and secure. So we're making investments to make the JVM as strong as possible, but as efficient in terms of adoption. We're also looking at a data-oriented world. I mean, we look at Java, it's great at optimizing code, but we also want it to optimize data. And so looking at a data-oriented programming model is investments we're also making. But we're also trying to make sure it's not just good for big apps, but scriptable prototypes, things that students and teachers can use.
Easy to learn and get started with. Like some of the upcoming JEBs.
Right, exactly. And one of the things about that, which is so important, is one of those projects that started in OpenJDK, which was Project Amber. I mean, Project Amber to me is a game changer amongst all of the, we all might have our favorite projects in OpenJDK, but for me, Amber is really important because it's all about simplifying the programming language. How do we become more efficient developers? And that's important because if the code is more writable, readable, and maintainable, it's going to save everyone a lot of time, because I think all of us at some point have inherited someone else's code base, and understanding how it was written, why it was written, making it more efficient can be very complex. So if we can inherently make the Java programming language less verbose, more approachable, it can accelerate adoption, especially with students.
Yeah, I agree. But also, like you said, with maintaining code bases that have been around
for a
while,
long time.
And the people who wrote the original code aren't around anymore, so you can't ask them why they did the thing they did,
right.
which might have been a very valid choice at the time, but
right.
with what you know
today,
now, maybe doesn't make sense anymore. So readability is
readability
definitely. I know
important.
that both Brian Getz and Mark Reinhold mentioned this at the last Java one. So
that's right. I mean, the reality is there's always going to be something to fix. Going back to something we mentioned at the beginning, there's tens of millions of Java developers, tens of thousands of enterprises that are running Java in production, hundreds of thousands of use cases that are all different, that are all going to need some level of maintenance or evolution. And so anything we can do to simplify the language, but also introduce new productivity features that can accelerate innovation, highly important. And another dimension to this is security. First and foremost, we need to make sure the language in the platform is protecting developers from future threats. And so we continue to introduce features that ensure that the language allows you to develop very secure applications for the types of application use cases that you're targeting. And so performance, stability, security, productivity, a lot of P's there and a lot of S's, but also innovation.
Yep.
Those are some guiding, North Stars for us in terms of how we develop Java.
We actually have a question from the chat that says, what do you mean by code is maintainable? Can we elaborate?
Sure. Yeah, so when someone has inherited a project from something that's been developed previously, you want to ensure that that's still running in production. So you want to maintain its ability to be as valuable as it was when it was first developed as it is today. So maintaining that means ensuring that it still has application utility as new features are introduced. So
making sure that it keeps running, making sure that you can make code changes that you need if you do need to add changes.
It's kind of like keeping your engine in tune. You want to keep that engine running as performant as possible, and maintaining your code base is an important dimension in that. And we as developers can't kick that can down the road. So anything we can do to make the next person that inherits our project or our product or our code base simplifies the development process, because eventually, if you neglect that, you're going to inherently create technical debt.
Yep.
Which.
So we can kick the can down the road, but that's going to come back in
and bite us.
Bite us in the behind. Yeah.
That's a polite way of putting it.
Yes.
That's for sure. That's right. And besides performance, security, a high value with the JVM in terms of efficiency, the world around us is also changing, and so we look at hype curves. We try to be very thoughtful in terms of how we develop the language, in terms of the use cases that are in front of us. But as we're now seeing, AI is becoming a very popular approach, and we also want to ensure that Java is a first-class citizen when it comes to generating code with AI or integrating models into existing apps, being able to take features from Java to simplify that. Kind of going back to our thoughtful evolution, what we're trying to fundamentally do is look at the challenges across various use cases that we can then introduce that have commonalities and synergies across many types of application development. And AI is just another one of those spaces that we need to ensure Java is a first-class citizen.
And we actually have a session with Lisa Raas later today on AI and LangChain for J.
That's right, and she has a lot of great content. It's great to see her here presenting at IntelliJ Conf as well. But she also has a lot of great content online that talks about Java and the AI space, and we're looking forward to seeing her doing some great things here on the Java DevRel team, focusing on AI and Java. Yep. Great plug. So Lisa, if you're watching, hello. We'll see you soon. So everything that's gone into ensuring the language and the platform stays robust from just an innovation standpoint is time well spent. But for me, what's really accelerated Java into being able to evolve with the ever-changing, rapidly changing technology environment is we changed our development model. For so many years, Java had this notion of being available every 2 years. Sometimes there was delay It would sometimes span to 3 or 4 years. And when you start targeting specific features to a specific release, well, we all know what happens when you start developing multiple features in parallel, and you have a feature that's binded to that release. It slows down the development process if you have 9 of those features done, but one is still needs extra time. It's slowing down the pipeline of innovation that oftentimes developers miss out on. And so by introducing the 6-month release cadence, what we did was we reduced the latency to get access to features that are already done. Again, high quality criteria. We only ship features when they're ready. And if something is not quite done yet, well, guess what? The next release train is only 6 months away. And this is a way to accelerate your development because you're now not having to inherit hundreds of features in every release. It's much more manageable because they're given in bite sizes with incremental innovation, which makes it much more approachable to go from release to release. So if anyone is still on something older than Java 8, time to migrate and move up the chain. At least try to get to 17, maybe 21.
Yeah, and also the ecosystem is moving that way as well. So Spring is now targeting Java 17.
That's right.
And another thing that I really like about the shorter release cadence is that also you are now including preview features so that people can try those out and give feedback to the Java team on how you're using that and what is working for you or what is not. And sometimes things also change then between the releases.
I'm so happy you said that because going back to the early years of Java, it was a technology that we pushed out to developers with very minimal opportunities for what we would call direct feedback. We would get the feedback after things were already in production, but now we're including the ecosystem in allowing them to participate with us by sharing their experiences before something is ready so we can fine tune it. You mentioned preview features, which is great. From our side, we view preview features as something that's done, but we just want that last bit of feedback. And so sometimes some features will go through multiple previews until we get it right. And it goes back to what we said. We don't want to make something standard until it's done because it's going to live for a very long time. But what I also love is we also now have early access builds available, which means you can start testing out the next version of Java before it's even delivered. We just shipped.
People are working on it.
Exactly.
And for those of you who are using IntelliJ IDEA, which I hope is everyone, you can actually now download early access builds from IntelliJ IDEA. And there will be a session with Fabio Niephuis from Graal VM later. And hopefully he will actually show you during his demo how to do that, and that you can also download the Graal VM early access builds from inside IntelliJ IDEA.
I think it's great that you have that as a mechanism within the IDE because we just shipped Java 24 this past March, but already there's early access builds for Java 25, which ships in September. You can start playing around and testing to see what that's going to do in your environment and start preparing for the release in advance. So the next LTS release is also Java 25. And so folks have to also prepare for that as well. So I think the 6-month release cadence really helped accelerate adoption at an ever-increasing pace than ever before, it's great to see. And we appreciate all the feedback. There was a time where we thought, is this too fast? Is this too slow? It seems as though the developer community around Java has really galvanized around the 6-month release cadence. So we appreciate that reinforced perspective. But all of this has really led to an amazing renaissance. So these past 10 years, 12 years of Java has really accelerated Java to places we never thought it would go. 30 years of innovation, as we've talked about. It continues to be one of the primary choices in enterprises and for developers. But what's so encouraging is to see a very rich pipeline of features available now. Again, going back to OpenJDK, I can't stress enough how important it is for developers to not just use the technology, but to understand how it's being developed. And so I'm going to reinforce this message quite often, but please go to OpenJDK, read the mailing lists, prepare yourself for features before they're ready. You just become more of a valuable resource to your enterprise with the greater knowledge that you have in terms of how things have been built or understanding why certain decisions weren't taken to move a specific feature in a certain direction. So we have this sense of empowerment in our enterprise. We have the ability to shape how Java is being used, and I don't think sometimes developers realize the power that they actually have inside their company. But where does Java live beyond the early generations of devices that we had explored or desktop applications? A lot of people that are probably traveling every day, taking Uber. Well, guess what? Uber runs on Java. If you're streaming and binge watching shows on Netflix, guess what? Netflix runs on Java. If you're making those personal connections on LinkedIn, which again, make that plug, please find both Mahdit and myself on LinkedIn. We'd love to connect with you. LinkedIn, powered by Java, but there's just a sea of enterprises, named companies, unnamed companies that find and have utilized the value of Java to run mission critical applications spanning various industries. We look at finance and banking. Trading systems runs on Java, infotainment units running on Java, e-commerce systems running on Java, social media platforms running on Java.
I myself have worked both on the online retail platforms and the banking systems on Java.
Utility companies, smart meters running on Java, right? Yep. So we should all have a sense of pride in terms of what Java can do, but it's also due to the creativeness of developers in terms of being able to take that innovation in Java to spin it up into interesting use cases and applications. So that really is why Java is so community first. I've been using this mantra, not of my making. Kim Bannerman, if you're out there and watching, she coined this phrase, people first, technology second. And that's really the spirit of what Java is all about, is the people. You can't create something of value until you understand what it is that people can do. What do they inspire to do? What are their fears and concerns? Where are they trying to be creative? We need to take that into account as we develop Java for the next 30 years and beyond. And so as much as we invest in Java from the Java team at Oracle, we want the community to join us, bring their inspirations and ideas to help shape that future.
Yes, so can you tell us a little bit more about the community and how they can get involved?
There are a lot of great foundational programs that are in existence that we need to continue to water and nurture to strengthen those roots. Again, OpenJDK, please come there. Java Champions program, by the way, these are independent developers who are either helping other developers become greater experts at using Java, but they're also community leaders who help bring and galvanize developers together to talk about use cases and best practices and fosters this spirit of inclusion, because everyone should be able to have the opportunity to be part of this Java ecosystem. And so Java Champions, for all of those that are watching out there, thank you for the thankless work you oftentimes do. I think I'm sitting in front of one right now.
Yes,
so Mahdit,
yes,
thank
you. Thank you. Anton is also in the chat asking if there are any other Java Champions in the chat. And I think that we have also around here another chance to win a Duke. Because the question is, what was the first Java user group in the world? If you know the answer, post it in the chat and you can win one of these Dukes. I wonder if anybody knows.
I wonder if anyone knows.
I don't think that I know. But this does give me an opportunity, because I think I forgot at the beginning. We want to also thank our 50 community partners who registered for this event. And hopefully some of you are watching with your jugs. If you are, maybe let us know later, because right now they are answering the first jug. So someone is saying San Francisco, someone is saying New York.
What did I say? What was that second one?
The New York Java Special Interest Group.
We have a winner. Who is that?
That is the winner. Oh, well, that is Alex Vinal is the winner. So let me say congrats.
Alex, thank you for that answer. Very few people know that the very first Java user group, 1997, was the New York Java Special Interest Group, or we call it Java SIG, which is still running
still
active to this day.
Awesome.
And it was actually a drug that I visited and was literally helped launch sort of my career into the Java space.
So we also have present Johan Hutting, who started the latest Dutch Java user group, which is Jug Noord. But I also see a lot of people asking Jug ? So Jug stands for Java User Group, which will be a group active near you, hopefully, or if not, you can start one, that actively promotes Java and organizes, for example, meetups and other events. I know the London Java community also organizes on conferences, for example.
Yeah. There's some very active Java user groups around the world. It's not about the size of the group, it's about the value of the conversation that happens. And so there's over 370 Java user groups around the world run by volunteers who find purpose and passion in Java. And it doesn't take anything. I mean, anyone can start a Java user group. They can contact me, again, off of any social platform that I'm on, if they need ideas as far as how to get developed, how to get started. But some of the best ways to start a Java user group is to look at the existing groups that are out there. I mean, the Sul Java user group in Brazil, over 40,000 members, actively promoting Java in Latin America. The Garden State Java user group in New Jersey, very powerful. Chicago Java user group, very powerful. The Netherlands Java user group, extremely active, and we'll talk about some of the programs that they have been doing. Yep. The Taiwan Java user group, the Japan Java user group. I mean, there are user groups probably on in every location close by, in proximity to you. We don't have a Java user group in Antarctica yet. If anyone is really daring and wants to start one in Antarctica,
and we cover all the continents.
Then we cover all the continents.
Awesome.
Then we can say there's a Java user group on every continent. But really, these groups are important because that's where you share best practices. That's where you share ideas. That's where you share use cases, and that fostering of conversation really motivates us to be better.
Yeah, you can also meet people who are using Java maybe in a completely different context from you, who might have completely different problems from the ones that you're having, or might have the same problem but in a different context, and you can learn from and with each other. Yep. I do have a question from the chat. Do you know a Jug which comprises 3 countries? Which sort of implies that maybe there is one?
3 countries? Someone's putting me on the spot. Does that mean I lose my Duke if I don't know the answer?
So if Jörg wants to say whether there is a Jug that comprises 3 countries, we would love to know.
I would love to know, because maybe I haven't been keeping account of all the active Jugs around the world.
We should ask Michael Simons. So let me do that later. Thanks.
Yeah, but you will find Java champions, Java programmers, interactive at these user groups. Very important place. And it's also a great place for students to come and learn and immerse and shadow people that have been in industry in the for a long time, because you get to experience the types of conversations and use cases that you'll end up seeing once you enter the workforce. So we encourage students to come and participate in user groups. The Java community process, again, another important entity that's all about ensuring the integrity of the Java specification. But we also partner with Oracle Academy, which is creating Java curricula for students and professors, where they can just take that courseware and immerse that into their university setting. We also partner with Oracle University for the Oracle, the official Java certification. I think there's a little over 1 million certified Java developers that have passed the Java certification.
I myself passed the first exam at some point. Yeah.
So we're also keep refining that Java certification with newer releases. So all of these are foundational. All of these are ways for developers to participate. It doesn't always have to be through just from a coding dimension. And it's important we celebrate all of these groups. You know, in the past 6 months, we've seen 4 new Java user groups in Ghana, Bolivia, Nagpur, India, and in Finland. So great for all of those volunteers in those locations that have established.
I have a suspicion who started the Finland one.
I wonder who that
was. It Marcus?
I think it was Marcus Heilberg, yes, for sure. So Marcus, thank you so much for that as well.
Yes, and the answer, by the way, is that the Jurech jug Germany covers Germany, the Netherlands, and Belgium in Aachen, which is right on the border. So, thanks for that tidbit.
Well. I'll have to update.
Do we have an extra Duke to send to Jurg, maybe?
I think he deserves it. I think we can manage that. So, Dirk, DM me, please.
Send your info to Sharat.
And we'll get that, Duke. We also had, these past 6 months, many new Java champions that have been announced. But, just recently, as of, this past little over a month ago, we announced a new Java champion at Devoxx UK, Mauricio and Patrick in, Patrick in Devoxx UK and Mauricio in JCon. Something
I don't recall.
very, very close, but
Yes.
in the last two events, and it's important that people take time to go and find Java champions. So please visit dev.java. You can learn more about the Java Champions program, but more importantly, connect with them, because these are the individuals who I even follow to find inspiration and who have been educating me for so long. So for sure, find them and connect with them. More importantly, we were talking about user groups and events. And so people first, technology second. Events are a great way to find like-minded individuals that share similar purposes and passions as you, or more importantly, have ideas that you might be able to find synergies in to bring into your enterprise. And so we are so lucky in the Java community to have such a rich collection of conferences. I think it's over 30, maybe 40 Java conferences. We're just showing a small snapshot of some of the ones that I've had an opportunity to attend and present at or participate in. We just brought back Java 1 this year. It was great to have that live conversation with a focus group of developers. But probably around the world, there are Java conferences, let alone Java user groups, that you can go attend in person or participate online. We were mentioning the Netherlands Java user group. They have 2 great conferences twice a year, once in the fall with JFall in kind of like October, November, but they have an event coming up
a day after tomorrow.
Oh, this week.
J-Spring
it's
in
this week.
Utrecht,
Okay, it is
here in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
So my colleague Anton Archipov will be speaking there. I myself will also be hanging around. So if you're at J-Spring, come find us. The week after is Devoxx Poland, where also Anton and I will be. I have 2 talks there, but also I love. One of my favorite things about conferences is hanging out in the so-called hallway track, which is where you get to meet people, talk to them. Be inspired by what other people are doing, discuss maybe what you just saw in a talk, but also ask questions to the people who are actually working on the technology. Yep. I see also Karl Heinz is hanging out in the chat. He's one of the contributors to Maven. Yep. I've met him at several German conferences. So if you have questions about Maven, for example, go find some Maven contributors, find Spring contributors. You can always ask me questions about IntelliJ IDEA, as people do. Just this morning, I got a message from someone who asked me at GeekOn last week or the week before, asked me a question and I answered him, and he's like, "Oh, that actually solves my use case." So, and I really enjoy like this being actively part of the community and meeting new people and seeing friends who live all over the world.
All over the world. For me, the community is like, it's the people version of Wikipedia. You have your connections to go and ask questions, to learn from, but to also share with and update. And so that human dimension is what's kept Java so vibrant. I mean, the range of ways developers can participate through OpenJDK, through speaking at conferences, being a volunteer to host a Java user group, running hackathons. These are all dimensions and vectors in terms of how we can all be better at our craft. And it's a testament to how the longevity of Java for 30 years. We've seen some of these other Java conferences that have been celebrating important milestones. Devoxx not too long ago celebrated 20 years. JCon just a couple of months ago celebrated its 10th edition, and
Econ celebrated 15 years.
That's right. And JFall as well celebrated an important anniversary just not too long ago.
20 years last year, I think, or the year before.
And I think Devnexus will be celebrating 20 years next year, if I'm not wrong. So, as long as Java has been around, these conferences continue to succeed because of the value it brings in terms of bringing the technology and the people together and then blending them into a useful situation. And it goes beyond just conferences. One of the great things I like to see now are these unconferences. So unstructured events where it's more discussionary and less classroom oriented. It's literally like a hallway track all the time. Great to see JAlba and JCrete, JChateau, JSail, just a few of the Java unconferences that are happening. In fact, JAlba just completed. JCrete is coming up this summer. JChateau was earlier this year, and I think JSail is coming up in June. So a lot of great unconferences that are on the horizon.
And for people who don't know what an unconference is where the people who attend the conference or unconference actually build the program together. So instead of there being a list of scheduled talks, you can propose your own sessions. I would like to tell you about this project that I've been working on, or this new technology that I've been studying, or in fact, I am struggling with something, who can please help me? And you can do stuff together, and
it's a very collaborative experience.
Yeah.
Where you're literally designing the material, program live in person. So there's literally no safety net or vetting in advance. You're taking a risk to propose something that might not get the votes to be presented, and it does put you out there, but you don't know until you try.
Yes, and I've also seen sessions that then ended up being hallway track.
Yep.
Maybe there's only one or two people who are interested, but you can have your conversation over coffee or dinner or whatever.
So all of those foundational programs, all of those conferences, all of those unconferences, it's important that those get attention, that they're invested in, that they maintain the strong roots that they've developed, because those foundational programs have now allowed us on the Java team and the Java developer relations team to bring forward new programs and channels that developers can tap into. And not too long ago, we launched dev.java, something I mentioned earlier, which is...
Siva actually, my colleague Siva posted the link in the chat earlier. Thanks, Siva.
So thank you. Dev.java is a place to get learning tutorials and information on how to become a better programmer, whether you're just starting out, whether you're intermediate, whether you're advanced. But also it gives you access to all of the community programs as well that we're investing in from the Java team. Inside.java, also an important resource. Yep. You might see a theme here, taking advantage of the Java TLD. Inside.java is an aggregation of all the publications from the Java team themselves, tagged by author, tagged by content, tagged by idea. So it becomes much more discoverable, but it gives you access into what the Java team is actually writing and talking about.
Yeah, and there's great content there by the Java developer advocates from Oracle.
Correct. And then Learn.java just launched this new initiative to pave the on-ramp, as we call it, for students and professors and teachers to become more versed in modern Java in terms of the evolution and shaping of Java, but also make it easier onboarding into the Java ecosystem. And so Learn.java is an area where just starting to invest in, and we're going to try and make this more robust over time to make it easier for students to become part of this great ecosystem that has been built and has been around for 30 years. But this doesn't happen overnight. There's a small but nimble and energetic team of Java developer relation participants that I'm proud to be peers of. These individuals do a lot of thankless work. A lot of these individuals are public and known in the community. Folks like Ana Maria Malcianu, Nikolai Parlog, Jose Pumar, Billy Corando, and others. Others are also now investing in community areas that are focused on education, like Heather Stevens and and Crystal Furman. Jim Grzanzio, longtime member of the Open Solaris community, has also now been an important part to keep the conversation and the voice of developers active. David Delabase and Dennis Megagon focusing on the Java Playground. Chad Aramura, who sort of oversees this entire team and keeps us all functional, so we maintain our sanity. And as you said, Lise Reis has joined our team and is focusing on AI and Java, and we're looking forward to her being part of this journey not too far in the future in August. So Lise, welcome aboard. Yep. And it's important we also recognize people that have been contributing to Java for 20, 25, 30 years. We just announced our most recent member, Kai Horstman, at JCon just a few weeks ago. We also announced Heinz Kubutz at Devoxx UK, Trisha Gee at Jfokus, Matthias Carlson also at Jfokus, Venkat Subramaniam at Devoxx UK a couple of years ago, and of course the very first recipient, Bruno Souza at Java 1 in 2022. Why is this important?
Let me just quick plug. Venkat will also speak tomorrow at IntelliJ IdeaConf. It will be the closing session, so don't miss that, because he always shares so much wisdom. And
don't miss his Dev to Next conference coming up.
Speaking of conferences.
Dev to Next, again, has a dedicated Java track, building off the inaugural event from last year.
Yeah, I was there last year.
You were last year,
it was
fantastic
one
event.
of my favorite events.
Yes.
It was small and intimate, and it felt almost like an unconference because there were so many amazing speakers there.
Yes.
It was very well organized. Colorado
Absolutely.
Is gorgeous.
Well, nothing is unorganized when it comes from Venkat.
No.
It's always top caliber, top shelf, precise. His precision is amazing, and it's happening in Boulder, Colorado. So please look up Dev to Next online. But these individuals and more have been giving so much of themselves to shape the future of Java, and especially to ensure the community stays vibrant. And so it's important for us on the Java team to recognize these individuals. And so these are the first 6 recipients of the Lifetime Achievement Recognition. There will be others in the future. I hope we get to announce in downstream events. But a sincere thanks to Bruno and Venkat, Matthias, Trisha, Heinz, and Kai for just being a source of inspiration for so many in the Java community. And it goes without saying, it's all about the people. We have to ensure that individuals and developers are participating. It's not enough to just sit there and have hands on keyboard. You have so much more empowerment in terms of shaping the future of Java, whether it's giving a talk, participating in OpenJDK, orchestrating a Java user group, or more importantly, participating in some JetBrains programs, because JetBrains has mimicked in many ways the ethos of what has made Java so popular. And so maybe you want to talk about some of your JetBrains community programs.
Yes, so we want to support, of course, developers with all of our tooling, but we also have some special programs to help. For example, we have a developer recognition program, so for Java champions, MVPs, Docker champions, if that's the name of the program, they can get free licenses to the IDEs. If you are hosting a Java user group, you can get licenses that you can raffle off to the members of your user group. We have a student pack for students where they can get access to our IDEs and other tools that might be of benefit to them.
And they get to build out a portfolio of their work, because they can then showcase that as they go chase their first position.
Yes, and we support open source as well with licenses and products. And finally, we have a content creator program where we collaborate with content creators who use our products. So lots of ways that we are also trying to support the community with our tools.
Many dimensions in terms of how to participate, which is great, because so much of the language and the platform and the Java ecosystem has this uber community around it. Tools, libraries, frameworks, but then all of the providers around that and programs. And so to see JetBrains investing in the community almost in parallel to as we do things in Java is also a source of inspiration. And I just want to say thank you to the JetBrains team.
Thanks for being here.